Well, hey everybody, this is Chris DeFurio with Keys to the Shop. Welcome to another edition of Shift Break. Today's episode is brought to you by La Marzocco, who's been making espresso machines in Florence since 1927. I absolutely love La Marzocco espresso machines. I have used them all throughout my career, and you can find La Marzocco espresso machines at the heart of some of the world's best coffee bars because for almost 100 years now, the dependability, the quality, and innovations you see in their equipment is all based on serving their customers, coffee retailers like yourself. Machines like the KB90 espresso machine with its straight-in locking portafilters for ergonomics, scales built into the drip tray for accuracy of extraction, the auto flush feature, which helps you with cleanliness and workflow. It's just one of many different types of espresso machines they have that can fit your coffee shop perfectly. So you should reach out to them, info@lamarzocousa.com, and one of their salespeople would be happy to help you get the right machine for your shop. Check them out at lamarzocousa.com. Today's episode is also brought to you by Espressly, who's creating custom branded mobile apps for your coffee shop. They are passionate about supporting independent coffee retailers with a quality app that allows your customers to experience your branding and the feel of your business in the palm of their hand in the form of this very convenient mobile app. It's a no-risk model when you work with Espressly. There's no setup or development fees. You get a drive-through payment scanner, receipt and label printing capabilities. All the data is stored in the app, and it integrates with some of the world's best payment processing systems, including Square. So this is a great option. If you're looking for a great option for mobile apps for your business, go ahead and have them get started on your app today. Check them out over at espressly.co. That's espressly.co. Okay, everybody. Well, today I wanted to talk with you about training. And in particular, I wanted to reference a post that I put up on LinkedIn about why a lot of our training, in fact, I say most training, is ineffective. And what I do in the post is I talk about why this is the case and use a grocery store as an analogy. The idea in the post is that we train people a lot like the way we in America shop for groceries. Versus the way Europeans do. In America, we try to stock as much as we possibly can in one shopping cart so it'll last us a long time. And then for a lot of Europeans, and of course there's always exceptions to this everywhere you go, so don't analyze it too much, but it's more of a kind of as you need it model. So it's not about hoarding great amounts of food in your house. It's more about maybe what do I need today? What do I need for the next few days? But there's not this goal of really stocking up. And like I said, how we train is kind of like the former model with American shopping where we get large grocery carts. We try to cram as much as we can into our trainings. Whether or not we have a plan to use it or not, we just kind of put it in the cart just in case. Extras of this, things that we may not even know what they are, but we want to try them out. And of course, what is the inevitable consequence of this? Things end up rotting in the fridge that we don't really either have the opportunity to use because it's hard to just go through all of that, or it ends up in the pantry and you forget that you ever used it and it expires, or you just kind of waste space by putting it there and it's not really useful for everyday life. And I think you can clearly see the comparison here in that with training, we do the same thing with the amount of information we try to cram into trainings, and especially into short bursts of trainings in the beginning. We've talked about this on the show before, where your onboarding process cannot just be a one and done deal. It has to be an ongoing conversation, a relationship, an exchange over time that brings people to higher levels of confidence. And it's tempting to just try to get as much information as you possibly can because it makes you feel like you're covering all the bases. I can tell you there's plenty of training regimens out there that include all sorts of details about the industry and agriculture and science that really a barista working the day-to-day work they do doesn't need to know, at least not right at that moment. What they need to know is, how do I succeed on bar? And the chances are low that they're going to comprehend coffee better because you've thrown a lot of information at them when they first start working for you. Instead, we need to have a long-term view of how we bring people into maturity in the coffee shop, instead of simply trying to create this silver bullet in the form of a barista training intensive that's like drinking from a fire hose and then there's nothing. Okay, so what we're talking about here is a model that equips people for success with the practical work that they're expected to do during their shift, and then adds layers as competencies and confidence grows in the basics. And what we do is we just, again, pile it all on and then check it off. One of the comments on my LinkedIn post mentioned that a lot of people use this as a checkbox situation where we've got that done. They went through training, so they should be fine. And this is just not effective. Most training models that I've seen function this way, and our follow-up training and long-term training is anemic. It doesn't really do anything except for check in on people and kind of tries to hold them accountable for the information they heard that one time. And we have a lack of patience around repeating ourselves. We don't like repeating ourselves for some reason. We feel like once we say it, it should be followed and remembered forever. But repetition is a tool. It's not a necessary evil that we think it is. Repetition is a tool of communication that allows people who are busy at the job of baristaing, right, and managing to recenter themselves. So we need to get in leadership positions. We need to get our minds right around that and say, okay, let's build a training system that gives people the best possible opportunity for success in the practical work of the bar. Let's make it streamlined. Let's make it real world. Let's make it practical and edit ourselves in the process. You're going to be tempted to just, out of passion or desperation, try to throw everything in there. Hold it back and put it somewhere else down the line. A few months later, add some more information related to the science of extraction or agricultural facts about this coffee or interesting things about the industry at large. I think it's reasonable to say the task of training should be about creating effective baristas. And that means bringing them to a place of confidence during the pressured times of work. That's how you know your training is effective. If during the rush, you have a group of people who feel like they've been equipped for success even while the pressure is on. That's the place, that's the kind of fertile ground that all that other information can actually take root in and grow in. But you can't just throw it all in there and expect that they're going to remember everything or that it's going to be useful and equipping to them. It's probably just going to be overwhelming, and they'll, try to figure things out on their own and let you think that you've accomplished this great training feat, when in reality it hasn't been that effective. So let's start working on building rhythms for continued education of our staff over time. This means you're going to have to track performance. You're going to have to know where people are in their skill sets, which means you have to be there with them to purposefully observe how they're doing on bar, take notes, and then follow up. See, I think subconsciously that's why we don't do it, is because we don't imagine that we have time, or we just don't want to bother with creating the time to do that. It'd be better if it was just in this big, fell swoop in the beginning. But if we want to see lower turnover, if we want to see more consistency, happier staff, and ergo happier customers, and then, that's related heavily to profitability of your coffee shops, then we need to start creating a little bit more of this holistic mindset towards training. Now, I'm going to link to a bunch of training episodes that we've had on the show in the show notes, and I really hope that you take the time to go through those. And even if you've listened to them before, listen to them again and start using this as a first step to create a truly effective training program, and not just a program, a training relationship. Training should just be a part of how you interact with people on the bar. We're always helping each other become better, and especially if you're an owner or you're in the position of a trainer or you're a manager, this is something that needs to be a constant and just part of the culture a culture of training. We talk about a culture of feedback in our episodes. Well, let's think about how there needs to be a culture of training and not just relegate it to one time in the beginning and then it's done. I think you're going to find that really and truly to be effective. So I just wanted to share that with you. Go and listen to some of these training episodes. If you're on LinkedIn, you can check out the post. You can just find me on LinkedIn. Chris DeFirio and Keys to the Shop is on LinkedIn as well. You can leave your own comments under the post itself. Don't forget to follow Keys to the Shop on Instagram at Keys to the Shop and subscribe to the show. Thanks, everybody, and I'll see you here next week for another edition of Shift Break from Keys to the Shop.